Hi there, and welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory, and it's time to draw. Well, it's time for me to jabber a little bit, but it's time for you to get ready to draw. It is nice to be with you again here. Chuayu is asking, how hot is it in Phoenix? Phoenix is where I am today. It's temperate. It's 89 degrees right now. It has gone up. It has gone down actually the last few days. So the weather has been quite pleasant, almost normal-ish. But I'm sure very soon it will return to the hellish conditions that we expect to have here in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. Joanna, hello, nice to see you. Kristen and Grozagor. Interesting. Grozagor. So, it is Thursday again, and it is time to start drawing. The idea behind this Draw With Me thing is it's not a drawing lesson, it's not a demonstration, far from it. It is merely an opportunity to get together, to hang out, to chat, and to draw while we're talking. So generally what I do is I come up with some idea, something that's on my mind, something I think would be interesting, and you can draw that or you can draw whatever you want. It's really just, we call it appointment drawing. Remember there used to be a thing on television called appointment viewing? On Thursdays, you can watch Seinfeld and Friends. Well, this is the equivalent, except less humorous, and with me instead of, Kramer. So, Hill Hausman, welcome to your very first experience here with Draw With Me. I hope not to disappoint you. We live in strange times, as you know, and I find that drawing is a thing that I can use to de-escalate the tension, let's say. And today I was thinking that I would like to feel like a kid again. Do you ever have that feeling? Like you want to eat the candy that you ate when you were a kid, you want to watch the movies you watched when you were a kid, so you get Disney Plus and you watch Treasure Island or Star Wars. No, not even earlier than that, when you watched Mickey Mouse Club, or if you're of a different age, you watched, Teletubbies, maybe too far. But there's something comforting to me, always has been, in going back to an earlier, more innocent age. Before Lassie, yes. Good one, Debbie. Lassie. Although some Lassie movies could be quite sad and scary. Donna, congratulations on your retirement. About time. Make the most of it. Stephen, nice to see you. Stefan, in Northeast England. Creapix from Bonn, Germany. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. And I was also thinking about art supplies. This is a cup of, early in the days of the quarantine, when we first came here to Phoenix, I didn't have much in the way of art supplies. And my wife ordered this big box of art supplies. It's like this sort of suitcase, and you open it up, and it's like every creative kid's fantasy suitcase. You open it up, and it has all the pencils and all the markers and all the tubes of watercolor. Not high quality stuff, certainly, but lots of it. And so I've been dismantling that box, and so I have this box here that has some markers, it has some pencils. So I thought, I just feel like playing around with that. I feel like doing something that isn't, too serious, right? Too professional. That's just kind of fun, right? So, some people complaining about my super buzzy sound. Sound okay? I think it does. I hope it does. Okay, so so yes, heady. That's true. Just serious. So Allie says that she has been rereading favorite childhood and teenager years books. Yes, I mean I went onto the Audible bestseller list yesterday. A lot of Harry Potter. A lot of people liking to go back and enjoy Harry Potter. A little extra vibrato in my sound today, huh? Oh, let me maybe turn this down. Hold on a second. I know what I can do. I'll just turn down my gain in a second. Is that better? How's that? Better? Okay, yes. All right, so, yeah. How's that? Is that better? Now it's probably too low, right? Yes, okay. Harry Potter, all that kind of thing. So that's what I thought, and I was thinking about, there was a period, good, okay, the sound is better. There was a period where, not that long ago, 4 years ago, I did a bunch of artist in residencies at international schools around the world. And I was traveling around the world, going to different places, and I was hanging out with kids in schools, and I was drawing with them. And it was fantastic. And I went all over the world. I went to China, to Vietnam, I went to the Middle East, I went across Europe. I just want to show you a few pictures from that time, if you would indulge me. Kiran, thank you for staying up with us late. Kiran. Here we go. All right, so now that's not what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you something else. Hold on a second. I wanted to show you this. Okay. So this is me and a bunch of kids in Prague, and so these are kids who are like 8 or 9, really great age. Here we have them. They are. Hold on a second. This thing is getting away from me. 1 second. Let me adjust this. Yeah. So one of the things that I would do is when we went to schools, I would just put big sheets of paper on the walls, and I would ask kids to draw each other, to pair up and draw each other. So here you see these two girls have each drawn each other. Life size. That was the idea. You traced around the person, and then you filled it in and drew it. And some of them are just genius. I love this. Love that kid's hair. Here's Alberto. And it was just really, really fun to be drawing at this scale with these kids. And I just love these drawings. They just have a quality to them that is really free and loose. And sometimes terrifying. For those of you who like to draw, hopefully many of you, I hope you can appreciate the freeness of these drawings. These are big drawings, right? They're life size. So these kids, look at the strength of their line, and the freedom of their color. And look at, this is crazy, right? It is kind of terrifying, but it's sort of like a Basquiat or something. Yeah, so I have thousands of these pictures that I've taken over the years of doing this, and just so much personality, every one of them. Just hilarious and true in some ways. Really, really good. And bizarre, too. I mean, like, just the imagination involved in coming up with these kinds of ways of drawing a face. Each different, each with its own style, but they're all kind of kid style, too. I love that one. Personality of that. Look at those eyes and that nose. And then there's something scary like this. Yes, future serial killer. I had them draw other things. We drew bicycles and stuff. Here's where everybody drew their shoes. Here's they drew me. Yeah, lots of great stuff here. So yeah, that was really fun. So, really, really cool, right? I'm sure some of you are school teachers or parents and you're familiar with this phenomenon of what it's like for these kids to do this stuff, but man, I really like being around it. And as Margaret says, energy and freedom, right? That's really what and just being around it. I mean, these kids are so unself-conscious. I want to show you something else. This is something you may have seen. It's an internet kind of a thing. But this is people who collaborate with their kids on drawings. So let me just see if I can show this to you full screen. So yeah, so this person, her kid does a bit of the drawing, she does a bit of the drawing, and you can see. I kind of like the kid's part better, honestly, but I think it's pretty cool. This is a guy who his kids would do drawings, and then when he was traveling, he would color them in, which I think is kind of great too. This to me is a really nice collaboration. I like it a lot. This is sort of bizarre, where this person would take kids' drawings and turn them into, what if that thing was really real, and like the kid was drawing what they actually saw, which is pretty hilarious. This is more like parents, adults being clever, but it's still sort of fun. So, yeah. So that's been on my mind, is this this great creative energy, and I just thought, like, let's try and tap into that. Let's tap into that creative process. Yes, Rachel makes a good point. They're into the process, not the product. I think that's something that we can all think about and learn from, which is they're just having fun doing it. I don't think that they have a plan. And that's what I would find when I would do these things I would cover the walls with this paper. And so I would say, here's the process. First, I would say, all right, take your partner who you're going to draw, put them up against the wall, and then take a marker and just trace the outline of them. Okay? They step away from it. Now you have the outline. I found that helped to kind of make a thing that was big, right? When it's big, it's freeing in a way too, because it's large and there's no sort of, that kind of thing. So it's big. And then I would say, okay, so now you've drawn the head. And a lot of times, like, the kids would move or they would squirm around, so the outlines were kind of weird. And that was, to me, part of the idea. So then I'd say, okay, you outlined their face, and it might be kind of weird and squishy and sausage shaped. That's okay. Now draw where their features go in that. And so one kid would sort of lean against the wall while the other kid drew them, and then they would switch and alternate places. And then they had a line drawing of the outline of the person. And then they would go in, and I would say, okay, now just grab crayons. They would bring out these giant buckets of crayons and just like have at it and start drawing on it. And kids would draw, and they would start drawing on each other's. And then if they were a bit older, like 10, 11, they would start like mocking each other and, drawing mustaches and stupid things. But the smaller kids, particularly like 5, 6, 7, they would just really, really get into it, and they could spend, until basically they had to go to the next class, just drawing and scribbling and adding and layering and layering and layering. And it was really, really fun about that. So that was really cool. So let's try doing something like that, okay? Let's see what we can do in terms of our own freedom. So here's what I would say. I'll put up one of these kids' drawings and we can draw from it, and we can use it as like the theme that we can then improvise on. You can also do this freely on your own now or later by going to Google and just Googling kids' drawings. You end up with a lot of stuff that isn't actually kids' drawings, strangely enough. Same with Pinterest. There's a lot of like people pretending to be kids, and you can immediately tell when it's an adult doing a kid's drawing. But what I'm thinking I want to do is I want to take a kid's drawing and I want to treat it almost like a Da Vinci drawing. Like I want to try and really reproduce it perfectly, and then I want to kind of let go. So that's going to be my process. You can do whatever you'd like, but that's sort of what I was thinking. Okay, so I've got my trusty Cupo stuff, and here's this one kid's drawing. I've also got it printed out here, you can see. So I'm going to lay it here off to the side a bit, and I'm just going to wait for my camera to focus. And then I'm just going to try and copy it. I'm going to take one of these. The bold end. I'll take the bold end of this marker. And I'm really going to try and do it as perfectly as I can. And what I find in trying to do a perfect copy of the line, first of all, that in doing that, not nearly as confidently and as well as this kid, but it's kind of, again, like when you copy, I don't know if you ever copied a master drawing, or even like if you copy like a Van Gogh, I've done that, and other things. After a while, you start to sort of really feel like you are drawing like they are. Like you can feel their hand guiding you. Or you can understand why they made the choices that they made in where they went. It's actually kind of hard, to be honest. It's not child's play. This is very serious business. And already I can see many places where this kid did stuff that I didn't do. And also is using different media. I could go crazy that way and try and say, okay, Jacqueline drew with a pen here and a pencil there. But I won't. For now, for the sake of efficiency, God knows why efficiency is the sake that is guiding me, but for the sake of efficiency, I'm just going to stick with this one pen for now. Sorry if some of this drawing is you're not seeing it clearly, because I'm going behind the photo. But and I'm trying to really copy each line. I'm not doing that great of a job at it, but trying to really see if I can understand the process that this person went through in drawing this thing. See, this is the other thing. It's like I'm doing it in this very kind of labored way, whereas the kid was clearly like much freer than I am. So, that is part of the problem with this conceit, right? Is she was like, just boom, just drawing these lines, and they're much better as a result. Whereas mine feel. Why am I critiquing myself? I'm having fun. Stop it. Okay, so now let me see where this eyebrow, or as my son used to call them, eyebrows. I really liked it when my son was, oh man, I did so much drawing with Jack when he was little. It was really just so nice to have this person who was always drawing, always making things. And you could always say to him, hey, you want to draw? And he would always like immediately come over and want to do it. He was very nice that way. Now he's like this big guy with a beard. He'll still draw with me, though. He will. In some ways, his drawings are kind of like kid drawings still. It does have that energy that I admire. There's some artists, I mentioned Basquiat, who I think channel this feeling well. Picasso, obviously. Somebody mentioned that alleged quote from Picasso. I don't believe any quotes from Picasso. I always find it hard to imagine that Picasso was really saying quotable things. But anyway, they claim that Picasso said that he spent his whole life trying to learn to draw like a child again. I don't think he really said that. I don't think that's really how he saw it. What do I know? Basquiat, as I mentioned, Dubuffet. Dubuffet was really good at it. Dubuffet collected kids' drawings. If you don't know Dubuffet, I strongly urge you to look him up. Yeah, this is already becoming my own interpretation, clearly. Despite my attempt to perfectly copy what Jacqueline did, I'm already failing. So, sometimes that's a good thing. You can say to yourself, you know what, my style is so strong that it overcomes this exercise. But I think it's also, frankly, impatience. I think if I went a lot slower, I would probably get it more accurate. But, then again, you pay that price of when you're overly accurate, you're kind of defeating the whole purpose of the freedom of this exercise, right? Freedom of just doing what you want. Okay, so my idea is that, okay, so now I have basically kind of a layout of Jacqueline's drawing. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see it a bit better. So this is basically Jacqueline's drawing. Now, where do I go with that? She is sassy. Jen's right, she is sassy. I like that word, sassy. All right, so I'm going to move Jacqueline here, her original drawing, because now what I want to do is just start thinking about all those kids' drawings and what else could I do with them, Because to me, like the scribbling and all that energy, like, is it possible to capture any of that? See, immediately I'm doing cross-hatching. But can I loosen up further? Can I loosen up? Can I do it? Let's see. Yeah, scribbling feels better. Scribbling. Yeah, this already feels better. Kids don't crosshatch, for Christ's sake, Gregory. Thistle, I see that you did it quickly, and I think that that was probably a better idea. So rather than really, you don't have to worry, you're not really trying to capture it, right? You're not really trying to capture this exact thing. You're trying to use it as, it's, it's like the standard in a jazz performance, right? So you take the standard, you take a song, and then you mess with it. So, you want it to be the springboard, the taking off place, but then you want to go. And you want to make sure that in doing that, you don't get too tight, too constricted by it. Because in the end, this is sort of a collaboration between that kid, Jacqueline, and me. Coloring is also a fun part of this exercise, is to really get into coloring. Stay within the lines at times, and at other times, to hell with the lines. Not going to worry about it. It's going to go crazy, go nuts. It's also nice to be able to grab lots and lots of different colors and different pencils, and not feel restricted that way. Kids' art supplies are also really bright, so embrace that. Like, don't be subtle. Don't be subtle. Just grab stuff and try it out. And and here I'm going to mix my media. So I'm going to give her pretty yellow hair. I really enjoyed this experience that I had in doing the residencies in these various schools. I have to say, though, and I'm sure if any of you have had to homeschool your kids during the quarantine or otherwise, you will agree with me. It is unbelievably hard work being a teacher. It's exhausting. I mean, kids, they have so much energy. And at times you can kind of pick up on that and absorb it. But at other times it's like, oh my God, I'm just exhausted by these people. And it's also the hours. I like to get up early, but I have to say, it's like you'd get up at the crack of dawn and you'd be on a school bus like by 7:30. And then you're at it. I mean, they always filled my agenda with a lot of stuff, these schools that I went to, because I wasn't there for very long and they wanted to make the most of it. There would be times where it would be like 3 p.m, I hadn't peed. Because I was just going from class to class, working with kids. I work with kids of all ages. I work with kids who are in preschool, and I work with kids who were about to graduate from high school. And man, it took a lot. It was a lot of work. And at times, I mean, I would just want to have a glass of wine at 4 p.m. because I was drained. But also my imagination went crazy. I mean, I was just really alive during that time. I was really full of ideas and willing to take risks and do stuff like that. It was really an inspiring experience. And it had been a while since I'd been around little kids. My son at that point was, he was already in college, so I didn't really have that guy around me to inspire me the way he had when he was little. But You also just see how kids think, You can see that they just try stuff out. Sometimes there are reasons behind the things that they do, and you can sort of figure that out, and they'll tell you also. They'll tell you, teachers have giant bladders, Kathleen says. It's probably true. Like giant tote bags of bladders. It's fun to have a drawing like this to just hang on your wall as a reminder that you can do it, that you can be free like this, Because what you're doing when you do this kind of thing, at least this is my experience, is I'm doing something that I know how to do deep inside me. I don't always feel that way when I sit down to draw something else. Sometimes I feel like, okay, I know how to draw this. But sometimes I'm like, I don't really know how to, or I don't know how to do it in a different way. But when you tap into this energy that you had as a kid, it's in you. It is in you, and you can bring it out. And I think when you do it, this same freedom that you might have in doing this, you can bring into your adults only work. You can say, you know what? I can be wilder with my colors. I can layer stuff. I can scribble. I can take risks. I can do stuff that, might seem, a little unwise. But you can do it. And it will make your work more interesting, more energetic, bolder, more universally true. I think that's one of the things we strive for as artists, right? Is to reach truth in some way. And I think this experience of free drawing is a universal experience. We've all had it. Every one of us. It's like the coronavirus, but that's kind of an awful thing to say. It's not at all like the coronavirus, but it is in the sense that it's a universal experience. It's a lot more pleasant, a lot less scary. But also, this kind of drawing, like, it's never done. And as somebody said earlier, as we were discussing this, kids understand process, not results, process. Just the process, the fun of doing this. It's fun. And as you layer it on, it gets more interesting. You have more things to react to. You're also more and more off the beaten track of where you thought you were going. You are going into new places. You are experiencing new things and seeing in new ways, which is so much of what we do all this for. To have a newer experience, right? To change our lives every time we pick up a pen. Change our lives in the sense that we are getting perspective. We're seeing more clearly. Things are more real. They're more relevant. They're less contrived. They're less the way they're supposed to be. This experience of the last 3 months has reinforced in me the fact that I don't really know very much at all. And the more I think I know, the more endangered I am, because I think I can be prepared for anything. I think I can protect myself from what's going to happen, but I can't. You can't know what's going to happen ever, not just because of the quarantine, but just in general. You need to be flexible. You need to be responsive to what is, as opposed to always thinking you can control your life and the world around you. You can't really. Doesn't mean you should give up. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you need to remain creative, open-minded, You need to stay awake so you can see what is happening, right? And this might be my favorite drawing that I've done for an incredibly long time. And I have to tell you something else. Since this quarantine started, in my sketchbook, I have just been operating in tones. I've just been drawing in black and white, shades of gray. And I'm starting to feel a transformation. I'm starting to feel like, you know what? I love color. I love it. I've always loved it. Why am I hiding from it? Why am I sitting around in the gloom with my ink wash? It's time to get out there and grab some colors and just do some wilder stuff. This happened to me once before when my first wife, Patty, passed away. Right before that, before she died, actually, I had been just drawing in tones. And soon afterwards, I started working in my sketchbook after she died. It was all color. It was the brightest of colors. And I attributed it to her because Patty loved colors, particularly pink was her favorite. And maybe I thought, okay, maybe as a tribute to her, I'm doing that. But maybe not. Maybe it was important to me to grab some color, man. Not to cheer myself up necessarily, although that was part of what I was trying to do, but just because that's part of life too. Whew. I like it. If I had some paint, maybe I would put some paint on it, but I don't have any handy. It's changed color now, hasn't it? Looks different on this camera. Oh, it looks really different. This camera's made everything very brown. Let's go back and look at the other camera again. Okay. There we go. That was really fun. I'm affected by that, you know. I'm affected by that experience, which is the point, you know. And what's the purpose of this drawing now? It's a reminder to me to go there. Oh, I found a poster paint. Here we go. No, that's not necessary. Okay. So, if you've made some of this and you'd like to share it, you can. Let me just put up the thing. What is it? Draw with me. Hashtag draw with me. If you want to share that, got ink on my arm. If you want to share that with me or anybody else on social media, that would be awesome. Just put hashtag draw with me on it. Put it in the schoolyard if you'd like. Oof. Yeah. So, going in and out of focus here. You know, this past week this whole experience with coronavirus reminds me of going back to when Patty passed away, because I discovered what the nature of grief is when she died. This is 10 years ago. which is that grief is not the way we think of it. It's not like it is in the movies where you hole up and put your head under the blanket. I mean, you might do that and you kind of disappear for a while and everything's really terrible. There's certainly that part of it, and I think we've all experienced that in our grief for the world the way it was as we're all going through this. But grief is also organic. It's a set of waves that hit us in times and ways that we can never anticipate. So you can feel fine. The sun can be shining. Everything can be great. It can come out of nowhere. At other times, you can feel surprised at yourself at how resilient you are, at how you feel okay. Or you can say, oh, okay, I'm through that. And then suddenly it can happen again. The waves spread out over time. They happen less frequently. Although I can tell you 10 years out, they still hit me sometimes. They never completely go away. But they can become almost like welcome friends sometimes. Like listening to the blues. It can come up and you can say, I cherish this bittersweetness. I don't want to forget it and then lose it. Because if I lose it, I will lose what or who I am grieving for. But you also don't want it to be so overwhelming that you're incapable of functioning. Because you still want to live. And here's an example. So over the weekend, we had my brother and sister-in-law, who are sort of our quasi-quarantine buddies, came over, and I had a gin and tonic, or I had a couple. Maybe I had 2 gin and tonics, and sometimes gin does this to me. It gave me a bit of a headache. Okay, so I had a bit of a headache, and the next day I still had it a little bit. It may have been from, we were busy last weekend. We had the workshop on Saturday. We had the feedback session on Sunday. So basically I've been working 7 days a week. And then I had this minor headache from this gin and tonic. I think that's what it was from. Monday morning I woke up, as I usually do, really early. I tend to wake up and go for a walk. I walk for 4 miles for an hour each morning. So I woke up, my wife is still sleeping, and I woke up and I was like, still kind of have this headache, but maybe if I walk, I'll get rid of it. So I go, and as I'm walking, the wave starts to hit me. I just start to feel not just sad, but worried, deeply worried. Worried about myself, that this headache was actually a symptom. And then I started to feel really warm, and I was sweating. And by the time I got home, I thought, okay, I'm feeling a little tired, feeling really tired. I'm feeling hot. I have a headache. Aren't these symptoms of the virus? Now, I'm living in Phoenix, Arizona. At 6:30 in the morning, it can be over 100 degrees. I had walked at a good clip for an hour, and therefore I was a bit sweaty and a bit warm. But my mind wouldn't allow me to accept the obvious, which was I had a bit of a hangover. It was hot. I had just walked a long way. I probably didn't have enough water with me, and I was feeling kind of lousy. By the time I got home, I was like, I better start making preparations, because I think maybe I'm going to end up in the hospital. Maybe my wife will be left alone here. I mean, it just started to crank up more and more and more. By the time my wife was awake, I said, I'm feeling really lousy. She said, so take the day off. You just worked Saturday and Sunday. Take a day off. I said, really? I don't know if I should do that. I ended up spending most of the day either lying down, reading, or napping. The next day, I woke up perfectly fine. And as you can see, I'm perfectly fine. I do not have the coronavirus. But grief took these things that were happening to me and ground them through some kind of a weird filter that made me feel like the world was going to end. And everything that I looked at wasn't as it truly was. It was seen in a completely different way, a bleak and hopeless way. It was nice to spend the day lying around and reading a book, but man, and it's one of those things that you can't say you understand at the time, because as soon as you say, well, this is nonsense, you're just, bullshitting yourself. You can't see that because you can argue your way out of that, right? No, that's what would happen. I should be more vigilant, blah, 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 blah. And that's the struggle that we have, not just when we're going through grief. I think as creative people, we often have it, this conversation, this dialogue that we have with ourselves that can distort reality, It's all part of the process. What we're going through right now makes it almost impossible to plan for the future. We can live in denial, and we're seeing now with the spikes that are going on, even here in Arizona, what happens when you live in denial. You can be overwhelmed by it, and then you can't function. So you can't get too deep into it. You can't constantly be reading stories about it on the internet. You have to maintain a balance, right? You have to live in the present. You have to see what truly is now, here. And you have to be gentle with yourself, it's really difficult. I'm not good at most of these things, but it is essential. It's essential for our survival. I'm a pretty resilient person. I've gone through a fair amount of shit in my life, and I'm still here. But it does chip away at you, but it also builds up your strength. And I think things like the exercise we did today, of tapping back into that joy and that process, of trying to not be judgmental, of trying to be playful. These are all important things that we can do for ourselves, They can break the cycle that we can put ourselves into. They can remind us that, the world is still great, that things are still beautiful, and that we have control over at least something about how we feel, So this is the process that I think art can give us, the incredible gift that it gives us to make our own vision, but also to see clearly, and to also avoid, I think, a thing that we can so often fall into, particularly if we haven't drawn for a long time or coming back to art, which is to be harsh with ourselves, to be judgmental, to focus on results. All these things that get in the way of the incredible tool that art can be in our lives. It's not about whether you did a good drawing. It's not about whether you have the right pen. It's about giving yourself some time to be with you in the present, in the now. Making beauty, playing, flowing. That's how we get through this. And, it's, as Marilyn says, scribbling releases tension. It's true. Scribbling is kind of out of control, right? It's out of control. It's energy, but it's just play. And it's something that we knew when we were little. So, thank you for hanging out with me again today. It's the 4th of July weekend here in the United States. It's going to be interesting to see what that's like. Barbecues, we have barbecue like almost every day because that's what we do. We go out and we have a barbecue, so we barbecue. That's the thing. Fireworks were this kind of crazy, paranoid conspiracy. I'm sure you saw it on the internet My son seemed to be swept up it at some point. My wife was too. My God, what is this? What's going on with these fireworks? The flag. I think we're all feeling weird about America right now. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the 4th of July is going to be like. I want to have some apple pie. I'm not going to be going to a parade, but anyway, maybe I'll do some more of this, because this is independence, right? Let's celebrate it. Hey, guys, thanks very much for being with me today, and thanks for playing with me. Maybe we should do this more often, be less in the demo mode and more in the play mode. We'll see how I feel, or how you feel. Keep drawing. Have a nice weekend. Use some color, and, hang in there. It's all going to be good. And if it isn't, we'll make some interesting drawings about it.